San Masr on behalf of His Excellency Tariq Al Molla, Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources. A warm welcome to Professor Dr. Walid Zawawi, Secretary of Council Institute and Research Bodies. We would like to thank the presidents and the representatives of universities, as well as presidents, deans, and representatives of Research Institute, our former presidents of National Research Center, Egyptian Knowledge Bank key officials, eminent professors, as well as foreign dignitaries and scientists who accepted our invitation to contribute to this important event. First and foremost, we really hope everyone is staying healthy and doing well in these difficult times, as we are all experiencing an unprecedented solution with the global COVID-19 pandemic. We didn't anticipate to conduct this event virtually, but we are happy that we were able to pivot this event from a physical to a virtual event online, thanks to the support of our eminent sponsors, the Ministry of Higher Education, the Ministry of Health and Population, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities. They are the ones who provided us with the documentary virtual tools, the Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Education, and the Academy of Scientific Research and Technology. We are also thankful to the big support from the President of the NRC Vice Presidents, Dr. Hussein Darwish and Dr. Mamdouh Maawad, and his respectful NRC President's Advisor, Dr. Khalid Shams. Our gratitude extends to the Egyptian Knowledge Bank, the international publishers Elsevier, Clarivate, and CAPI as partners of the Egyptian Knowledge Bank, and the National Training Council. Both the British and Al Jalala University have offered a number of distinguished awards to students with outstanding participation in the conference, and we deeply thank them for their generous awards. We would also like to thank the travel agency Joint Top Tours, MTI Scientific Trade, and Advanced Biochemical Company for their great support. A great thankful to our dedicated organized committee, the members of the scientific committee, our technical experts with whom this conference would not have been successful, even possible. Last but not least, our gratitude goes to the Central Administration and Public Relations Office, the Publishing Department, Security Office, and the Office of Documentation and Information. Honorable guests, the NRC truly believes that innovation and the fusion of new technologies are considered vital in leveraging off the human and material resources available within existing academic institutions throughout Egypt for inclusive and sustainable growth, as well as promoting international collaboration in research, industry, and technology transfer. The conference is considered a noteworthy milestone in technology and innovation, bringing together not only leading academic scientists, researchers, and entrepreneurs, but also students to exchange and share their ideas and innovative solutions in all aspects of scientific innovation of technology. The students originate from the STEM high schools that teach a project-based curriculum in collaboration with Franklin University and is focused on solving Egypt's grand challenges through innovative science, technology, engineering, and math. NRC has also organized 2 workshops facilitated by world-class experts that will tackle the latest trends in innovation and entrepreneurship and startups. Honorable guests, let us now listen to our first eminent speaker of this event, Professor Dr. Hiba Rifai, Conference Coordinator and Head of the Conference Unit.
President of Academy of Scientific Research and Technology, Professor Dr. Mohammed Hashim, the President of the NRC, Mr. Taoula Lawrence, Egyptian Knowledge Bank Consultant. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Advisory Committee, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to the second NRC International Conference on Science and Sustainable Development, ICSSD2021, under the theme of Scientific Research, Technology, Innovation, and Knowledge Creation. I am pleased to extend the greeting to the board of NRC hosting this event, especially the President, Professor Mohammed Hashim, and the Vice President, Professor Dr. Hussein Darwish, Professor Dr. Mamdouh Maawad, for their support. welcome all participants to our conference, Academy of Scientific Research and Technology, EPE, Ministry of Tourism. We are also grateful to the big support for our partners, the international publishers, Institute and TED, National Training Council, both the British and Jalala University. I also like to thank the travel agency, Giant of Tours, NTI Scientific Team, and Advanced Chemical Company for their great support. We would also like to thank our dedicated organizing committee, the members of the Scientific Committee, Children's Scientific Committee, and our technical experts without whom this conference would not have been possible. The international conference brings together leading scientists, researchers from 12 countries to share and exchange their knowledge and experience in several aspects and scientific innovation. 69 authors, 60 speakers, and 30 tours and exhibition with questions. As the NRCD is the vital role of the younger generation in shaping the future, 10 students, undergrad and postgrad students from different universities will be presenting their ideas and innovative solutions in front of Jewish talent for all of elite professors from various universities and research labs, where scientists will participate as speakers, 33 will share as posters, and 9 will bring their valuable and innovative thoughts. Concluding, I wish you the latest the ICSSD2021 Organizing Committee is successful and enlightening conference. Please give an attention to the short platforms interactive video. Welcome all to the second National Research Center International Conference on Science and Sustainable Development under the theme of Scientific Research, Technology, and Innovation for Knowledge Creation, held virtually from the 26th to the 27th of October 2021. Let us together go through a rapid tutorial on how to navigate in the ICSSD conference platform. Using the website link www.ICSSD2021.com, you will be taken through the welcome scene of the National Research Center to the Sign In button. Please write down your personal account username and password. You may click the Remember Me checkbox. ستدخل إلى الصفحة التحديد المؤتمر وتستخدم فايل وتستخدم كلمة الدخول. يمكن الضغط زر بالمعنى لعدم إدخال البيانات مرة أخرى. You have now reached the main scene for the conference platform. In the middle of the screen, you can see the Auditorium Hall. This is where the live sessions take place. By clicking on the Auditorium button, you will find the agenda customized according to the topic of your interest. أنت الآن على الصفحة الرئيسية للنسخة الإلكترونية للمؤتمر. في وسط الصفحة تجد صورة العرض الإلكتروني لمتابعة المحاضرات الحية للمتابعين. بالضغط على زر الإلكتروني يتم عرض الأجندة الخاصة بالاستخدام لاختيار السابق أثناء عملية التسجيل للمؤتمر. All through the 3 days of our event, the agenda will show you which sessions are going now live, and you may also listen to the past sessions by clicking on the available recordings. تبارك الأجندة الفعاليات كل يوم من أيام المؤتمر 3 خاصة بالمحاضرات الحية والمحاضرات أنا يقدر تقرر كثير من منطقة الوسط عن الكسرة بتطلع على كسرتهم تسجل كمية كسرة الخاصة بمسؤولية النتيجة. By clicking on the texture bar, you may find all the different questions submitted, customized according to your topic of interest. You may then listen to the poster presented, leave your questions or comments in the chat box, and share your feedback rating from 1 to 5 stars. يمكنك الآن تفكر على الكمبيوتر وتلقي الأسئلة والتعليقات بالكامل، كما يمكنك تضع رسوم في الكمبيوتر من 1 إلى 5. On the upper right side of the main conference platform screen, you will find the exhibition hall. Deal with the exhibition hall just as you did with the lecture hall. سوف الاختيارين سوف تتبعون المعرض بالتطبيق على exhibition ممكن تصفح المعرض في منطقة الشرح في أسفل. On the lower right side of the main conference platform screen, you may find the help desk. This is where you will write down your questions regarding any issue you may face all through the 3 days of the event and the conference unit number or answer date. في أسفل الصفحة تتم مكتب المساعدة الحكومي للمسجلين في مشكلة واجهت في تخصص المنصة وسيتم الرد عليكم أكثر. On the lower left side of the main conference platform scene, you will find the sponsors list. This is where you may chat with any of the sponsors of your interest and will answer them as soon as possible. وفي أسفل الصفحة تتم التبرعات التي يمكنكم محادثة التبرعات وما يمكنكم في الأسئلة والتعليقات. Thank you everyone for choosing to participate in the second ICSSD2021 and hopefully you will enjoy our conference.
Our next speech will be held by Mrs. Ola Lawrence, Egyptian Knowledge Bank Consultant.
Good morning, everybody. It's my honor to be at the National Research Center and giving the pleasure to the professors and the eminent celebrity professors of the scientific research, as I was one of this family since I was working at the Academy of Scientific Research for the last 28 years. It's my honor that PTV is presented today with different services, different sessions. I want to give you a small brief about what we're doing at the ETV. We're working with the universities, with the research centers for higher level of the research output, jointly with the Academy of Scientific Research. We are trying to index more and more journals to be indexed international. At the same time, we're trying to have the best ranking for our universities, the best ranking for our research centers. And not only this, but we're working also with the university in the teaching excellence of different subjects. And we're starting now with the accreditation. We are very happy that we will be having 2 faculties of pharmacy from Egypt. They applied for the accreditation from the famous ACPE Federation International Organization for Accreditation. It's not only this, but we're working with surveys that really also the community, the medical community, either for technical, clinical, and education. And I would be very glad if we can serve the community of health and the clinic or the small hospitals. I think it's a hospital. Yes, and the hospital, as we have experience with the army hospitals, the Supreme Council of hospitals, and at the same time of the Ministry of Health. So I would like very much to facilitate all our medical services and clinical services to the National Research Center, to help them as we are helping the other communities. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm lucky that I'm being with you all. Thank you.
Now joining us virtually via Zoom, Engineer Khaled Shaalan, El Severe Area Manager, Core Research Solutions Consultant, Egypt and North Africa.
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Mahmoud Sar, President of the Academy of Scientific Research and Technology, Professor Muhammad Hashim, National Research Center President and Conference Chair, Ms. Ola Lawrence, EKB Consultant, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, representative of research councils and research institutions in Egypt. It is a pleasure to be here amongst you to participate in the inauguration of the second NRC International Conference on Science and Sustainable Development under the theme Scientific Research, Technology, Innovation for Knowledge Creation. The conference main themes and axioms are very much in alignment with Elsevier objectives. So the conference main themes of innovation in strategic industries, emerging technology, water research, energy research, agriculture, food and health, and population. They draw a very strong spotlight on the role of science and scientific research and its impact beyond labs into the society itself. Elsevier currently views itself as an information analytics business specialized in science and health. It is our duty to be empowering researchers everywhere for the betterment of the scientific knowledge and to be able to better serve their communities. We will have two participations during this conference that will revolve around the same thematic topics of the conference. Our first talk will be presented by my colleagues Muhammad Raed and Lucius Kumbi this afternoon, and we will be discussing how to align research objectives and how to view the research in general in line with the Sustainable Development Goals, to work on many ideas that are very consistent with the thematic topics of the conference itself, like water research or energy research and many others as well. Our second talk will be on Wednesday, and it's going to ask a question about taking research beyond the lab into the industry, into actual application, innovation, and maybe even entrepreneurship. We're going to ask the question, does Elsevier Life Science Solutions and ecosystem support not only research and education, but also strengthen the academic corporate collaboration and maybe even the entrepreneurship itself? It is a pleasure to be amongst you here and to witness one of those very important conferences being held in Egypt, overcoming the current constraints and conditions being imposed by the COVID-19 and successfully launching in a virtual conference with a hybrid opening. It is such a pleasure to be here and to be witnessing a successful conference like this one. Thank you so much for your time, and I wish you a very successful conference. With that, I give the speech back to the conference unit.
We are speaking about a very strong national network of entrepreneurship clubs to promote and to actually raise the awareness related to entrepreneurship skills and, of course, using informal and education tools. We are speaking about children university, about science and society. We are speaking about so many projects. But the most important project, in my opinion, because we are speaking now about science and the role of science actually to achieve the sustainable development goals of UN, the 17 sustainable development goals. I would like to speak briefly about the regional development center for renewable energy established by the Academy of Research and Technology. You know, it is one of the very important projects. The beginning was generous support and from, I would say, a research grant from EU, and it was started by the former president of the Academy, Professor Sherdina, and his co-secretary, Ola, and others. And of course, we joined the Academy of Research and Technology, started actually to push the implementation of this project. As a result of this project, we have now the premises of 6% research and technological application and the artists in Korea is the biggest research and development pilot plant for water desalination, concentrated solar power for water desalination, in collaboration with SARTA, and they have the technology with us today. This is actual technology transfer, technology utilization, and the capacity building is one of the most important issues, which is related to solar energy and water desalination. We also succeeded through collaboration with China to transfer the technology related to local manufacturing of photovoltaic cells, and now we have a pilot plant for R&D and semi-industrial production of PV based in Suhad, one of the regional development center of the Academy of Research and Technology. Now starts the community south of Egypt, and now we are trying in cooperation, of course, with the scientists from National Center from Egyptian universities actually to make use of this central core facilities to serve the communities. My dear colleagues, we at the Academy of Scientific and Technology, Ministry of Higher Education and SDF and IFS, there are so many opportunities actually available at the ministry nowadays. We are all here to support you, to facilitate you. Our main job is to serve you, is to help you, is to support you, and I believe now is the appropriate time actually to do something. I have too many things to speak about, but this is not actually the proper time. I will try to waste your time. I would like to end my speech by reaffirming my sense and appreciation to the NRC family, led by my colleague and faculty Professor Dr. Mohammed Hashim, and of course his co-vice president, Dr. Mandoor, all the team, the head of different research division. Different research institutes. Thanks also to my colleagues and friends, Dr. She did a lot, and we can easily recognize actually very significant development in the conference as an association. Thank you very much. I wish you a very fruitful conference. Thank you.
Now, join me in welcoming Professor Mohammed Hashim, President of the National Research Center.
My dear colleague, Professor Dr. Musa, my dear colleague, head of the university and the head of our research institution, and dean of the NRC institution, Dr. Sheba, Dr. Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's our great pleasure to welcome you in the premises of the National Research Center, one of the biggest and largest multidisciplinary research and development centers in Africa and the Middle East. Welcome also is extended to all our international participants. from over 14 countries. Sharing with us this event through our conference 3D virtual platform and interact with the National Research Center research in all disciplines related to sustainable development. Excellent ladies and gentlemen, in accordance with the goals of the Global Agenda for Sustainable Development, SDGs, and Egyptian Strategy for Science, Technology, and Innovation 2030, is necessary to stimulate inclusive and sustainable industrialization, encouraging innovation and scientific research, and to move to knowledge-based economy. In a world struggling with economic depression, pollution, global warming, overpopulation, and looking for reliable and unlimited source of energy, science and scientific knowledge need to be at the center of every state policy. This conference, which held virtually due to COVID-19 pandemic, aims to bring together leading academic scientists, researchers, and intermediaries to exchange and share their research results and experience in all aspects of science, innovation, and technology, including strategic industry, emerging technology, agriculture, food, water, energy, health. The conference also provides a primer interdisciplinary platform for discussing the most recent innovation trend and concerning that address sustainable development. This conference will present over 60 research papers and around 70 posters, as well as 30 innovative products registered at the NRC badge. As the NRC genuinely believes the vital role of younger generation in shaping the future, especially those located devoted for STEM school, university, and postgraduate students who showcase their innovative ideas and research solutions. Contributing students with outstanding innovative research solution will be awarded one of the prizes offered by National Research Center, the Academy of Scientific Research and Technology, Reggio University in Cairo, and Yarra University. Two workshops will be held to present the latest trend in the entrepreneurship and startup companies. It is through valuable tools, presentation, and virtual discussion this event will meet its goals. Therefore, we encourage you to fully engage and make the best of this opportunity in order to build collaboration and integration, and hence come up with the recommendations that will bring welfare to our nation. Unique thanks is due to patronage ministries, Ministry of Higher Education, Ministry of Scientific Research and Technology, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Tourism, Ministry of Environment, and Academy of Scientific Research and Technology, the Knowledge Bank, the International Publishing House, Elsevier, Clarivate, and KABI, and the National Training Council. Finally, I would like to thank all those for helping in organizing this event. Special thanks is due to Dr. Heber and her team in a conference here. Thank you, and my best wishes for conference. Thank you, and stay safe. Thank you for your attention.
Before we come to the end of the inauguration ceremony, President President of the National Research Center would like to present honoring sheets to our eminent guests. First, President of the Academy of Scientific Research and Technology, Professor We receive an honorary shield from Please welcome Professor Professor of Genetics and Genomics Research, Professor of Genetics and Genomic Research for our outstanding performance. This is Donna Lawrence, Egyptian State Consultant, to receive the honorary shield. Accepting the honorary shield. Accepting the honorary sheet on behalf of Engineer Khaled Sha'lan and Severe Area Manager for Research Solutions Consultant Egyptian and North Africa is Dr. Nadeem Istanbul, Regional Manager Life Science in Severe Africa and Middle East. Welcome, Engineer Ashraf Bahauddin Abu Futuh, Board Chairman and Managing Director of the Egypt Maintenance Company, SUNMOP, on behalf of the Excellency Engineer Farah Al-Molla, Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources. Please welcome Dr. Medhat Abdulwahab on behalf of the National Training Center. He is the General Secretary of National Council of Training and Education. Please welcome Mr. Hassan El-Miligi, Joint Force for the Manager of Joint Force, and we thank them for the very nice display of the virtual tours that was displayed or will be displayed in the conference. Mr. Hassan El-Miligi would like to have some words.
Hello, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Mohammed El-Miligi, and we are very proud to be with you today in this great conference. And it's a great opportunity we have taken from Dr. Heba Rifai. Thank you very much to give us this a chance to be here with you in this great conference. Actually, we discussed with Dr. Heba Rifai what kind of lectures, or let's say virtual tours, we can give during this conference. And it's a very nice idea to have some leisure flavor inside this great scientific topic. So we decided to speak about historical and culture of Egypt. But actually, Egypt is not only history and culture. And Egypt is not only coastal cities, but Egypt is history and very wonderful beaches and sea, and also Egypt is adventure and safari and medical trips. So if you want to know more about Egypt, I think you need to go and see what's Egypt's tourist map. And when we speak about Egypt's tourist map, now you can see and understand the different types of tourists inside Egypt. I'm very proud to tell you that our Joint Top Tours, JTT, is the first Egyptian tour operator to be certified in sustainability in tourism through Travel Life, one of the bodies of GSTC, the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. So let me from this point tell you that through our senior guide, Egyptologist senior guide, Dr. Rani Shuman, she will be very happy to give the virtual tour by the end of every day of this great conference. So please stay tuned and wait to see what Dr. Rani Shuman gonna give us in these lectures. It's well prepared with all details through Dr. Eva Ribari. She's taking care about everything. So we are so proud to cooperate with you. Thank you very much. And before I go, I'm wishing all the success to the conference. And again, we are so proud to be with you. Stay tuned every day by the end of the conference to see our virtual tours, and our crew at Joint Top Tours will be waiting any questions, anything you want to ask through the technical booth or Zoom zone, which is inside this board of the conference. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Please welcome Mr. Antonio Mikhail, General Manager of Competent Company, to receive the honorary shield from President Foundation. Dear guests, we now arrive to the end of the inauguration ceremony. Thank you for your attention and patience. I sincerely hope you will enjoy today and the next 2 days of our conference, and wish you the most rewarding and enjoyable time. Thank you. Minister of Tourism and Tourism on behalf of the Minister of Tourism and Agriculture.
Now join us in the break. Dear guests, there is a break in the second floor.
And the sun gazed upon a land, and chose it from among the others. And the land grew and became an empire, destined to be the cradle of civilization, and known as the mother of the world. A land of legend and mystery. A story to tell. A world to live. Gift of the Nile. Guardian of the past. Capturing the hearts of people all over the world. Get inspired to start your own story, where it all begins. Welcome to Egypt, the most fascinating place on earth. Land of the pharaohs. Muse of the world. Travel back to ancient times. Hear the voices from the past. Marvel as you wander through what is widely considered the greatest outdoor museum anywhere on the planet. Meet the city of Cairo, with its unique fusion of different cultures. Enjoy the all-year-round sun on one of the countless beaches. Lose yourself among the souks and markets to taste the flavor of Egyptian life. Explore the ancient tombs. Share the secrets from the past. Hold your breath as you stand before what is considered the greatest spectacle in the whole world. Live the Egyptian nightlife. Sail on a boat on the Nile. Or dive into an amazing world of color and beauty. From east to west, from north to south, visitors will find a unique place that will provide some of the richest experiences of their whole lives. Come and discover the land that has captivated the soul of the people throughout ages. An amazing trip you won't easily forget. Get inspired by the muse of the world. Start your personal journey, where it all begins.
Let us now introduce our first plenary session for the second NRC International Conference on Science and Sustainable Development. We will be starting with Professor Serene Khan, CEO, Competitive Innovation Management and Entrepreneurship Leader from Canada, with his presentation entitled ISO. Please, Professor Serene, if you may share your screen.
Okay, thank you very much, and I hope that everybody can hear me properly. So I'm very honored, and thank you very much for inviting me to be the first keynote speaker to such an important event in the life and
Our
future
pleasure.
of Egypt, such a great country, such a cradle of civilization for the entire world. So I'm going to talk about innovation management science standards as the world's best practices for the 21st century. The picture that you see here is my image of what innovation is all about. A narrow path that meanders around, dangerous because you may fall to the left or you may fall to the right. But if you manage to follow that narrow road, you can reach some heights of great satisfaction. For the past 20 years or more, I've been trying to get Canada to become a more innovative, more competitive country as a whole. And one of the statements that I and my colleagues came up with was that Canada, as well as any other country, should not forget that innovation is a renewable corporate and national capability to be developed, harvested, used, and commercialized for economic and social benefits. And I'm going to talk about that right now. Innovation is the engine of evolution and sustainability. And companies and countries, like people, evolve through similar stages of birth, growth, maturity, decline, etc. But companies and countries, they can last much longer than people thanks to their renewal capabilities, renewal in terms of ideas, tools, very important people. Also, renewal in terms of continuous innovation to adapt to changing customers, markets, technologies, environments, and fight competitive threats. Okay, how do I go next? All right, so think about a company, because I'm going to illustrate my speech by a lot of aspects of business innovation, although the same management system can apply to social innovation, environmental innovation, and such. A company grows from being a startup.
دخلت رديت باسم الاكونت باسم المؤتمرات بتاعتنا.
Okay, all right. Eventually it grows, it becomes mature, and it continues to sustain its growth. It can do that only through innovation. And as you noticed, I use different colors for innovation because the innovation activities differ from one stage to another. And if they do not innovate,
ايوه يا برضه لا عارفاه يا شريف ده انا قريبته صاحبتي شريف.
Excuse me, can somebody stop talking while I'm talking myself?
لا انا سريعه اصلا مش عارفه انتوا من النهارده صراحه عننا ليه.
Hello. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. So if they do not innovate, they decline. And in order to get out of decline, they have to innovate back into a position of real competitiveness, real achievements. Basically, from our perspective, innovation is about delivering new value. And an organization does that by attracting and satisfying its customers with better value in products and services, in policies and programs, if they are social organizations, by surprising also the competition through more effective internal and external processes, and by continually enhancing its resources and capabilities to grow and achieve the vision. Ask yourself the question, are we changing as fast as the world around us? And again, at the country level, remember that benefits go not to the countries who launch more technologies and startups, but to those who know how to scale and sustain them. Organizations who do not innovate become less competitive or less relevant, they decline and eventually they die. There are nevertheless persistent myths about innovation, and they are impeding progress in a very bad way. One example of a myth is innovation is just about science and R&D. I'm a physicist, I'm an engineer, I've been teaching technology, I've been teaching management. I know that innovation is the transformation of opportunities and ideas into market results, into results there where they count. Unfortunately, many companies do not have a system of innovation management, and my intense studies in Canada and other studies around the world show that the companies that do not have a system of innovation management perform about 35% worse than those who do. Another myth is that innovation is about having ideas. No, innovation is hard, structured work to reap market benefits. Many companies do not project manage their innovation, or they do not use enough metrics to manage their portfolios, and on average, their performance is 50% worse. Innovation results are proportional to investments. That's another myth. And the reality is that innovation investments are wasted unless they are being managed well. The conclusion is that there is too much money and resource wastage due to poor management of innovation. In Canada, we created a Center for Business Innovation at the Conference Board of Canada to study precisely what were the problems that Canada was suffering from an economic, social, and such. And we came to the conclusion that despite the usual demands for more money, lack of innovation investments, that's not the fundamental issue for the problems that Canada had. The issue was and continues to be, unfortunately, innovation management. That requires a leadership that nurtures a culture of entrepreneurship, an innovation culture, and pursues innovation competitively, comprehensively, and methodically with the right metrics to ensure value. Let me explain this concept of innovation. It always starts with research, and I know that you are very good at research. Research is nothing else but the transformation of money into knowledge. You get some researchers, you pay their money, they are well prepared, they are going to get you their knowledge results. From an economic interest, most important is context research, user needs, competitive requirements, constraints, regulations. Science and technology research is very important, as well as organization business research. Now you have the knowledge, the innovation concepts. What do you do with them? You can implement solutions. So solutions could be new business strategies, new programs, new services, better products, better resources, better people, more prepared people, better platforms to develop, better selection of partners, better corporate processes. All those solutions provide the potential for value. In order to reap the value, you need to deploy the solutions, you need to commercialize them. For that, you need market results, customers, and how to support them, channels and support them. That's how you achieve your economic and social benefits. That's how you get back to more money, so you continue the cycle, because competition never ends, and therefore innovation should never end either. The framework for innovation management, comprehensive framework, I wrote a paper in 2012 about that. It's a pyramid. You know pyramids, they are very stable objects, and 5 layers, not to make it too complex. The fundamental layer is your market knowledge, your business models, understanding your customers and such. The second layer are the resources. The resources are the people in the organizations, the facilities made available to them, the tools, and the partners. At the core of the pyramid is the culture of the organization, where the Pharaoh's chamber was. The leadership, the governance, the innovation, the culture, how you organize and proceed. On top of that are the solutions, the things that the organization does, the processes it establishes, the platforms it builds, the products it creates, the services it provides. And of course, at the pinnacle of the pyramid is the value. The outcomes could be financial outcomes, customer outcomes, brand, territory, social outcomes, environmental outcomes, and such. But you all know that you can't manage something unless you understand and measure it. And metrics drive behavior. That's why I tell my customers, hey, set your goals, trust your people, set the metrics to drive them, and your people will get you there. Let's strategize a little bit about innovation. There are three fundamental innovation strategies. Number one is technology-driven, that is interested in exploiting technology to provide better products, better services, faster, cheaper, and such. That's like thinking inside the box. How can I make my box faster, cheaper, nicer, etc.? There is user needs-driven innovation, that is being interested in new ideas on customer needs. Okay, that's about thinking outside the box. What kind of new box can I make available to my customers? And then there is territory-driven innovation. We are looking at expanding the territory of your activities. It's like thinking, where else can I take my box? Another aspect that is quite interesting for you to understand is the concept of upstream and downstream innovation. Upstream innovation happens in the building, looking at design, development, supply, production. Downstream innovation happens in the market, how you deliver to the market, how you acquire customers, you sell to them, how you satisfy the customer with proper support. Basically here, it's how cheap and fast can I make my stuff. Here it is, how much more can I sell? How customers value and purchase, how customer use, what else customer need. Upstream innovation is about reduced cost, improve new products, improve processes. Downstream innovation is about how do I get more customers, how do I get more value per customers, how do I get new types of customers. So to a large extent, this is technology exploitation and user needs driven. This is very much user needs driven and territorial expansion. Remember, to get into a game, you need to have good products or services. To stay in the game, you need better products and services. To really win the game, you need better customer handling. And that's why I'm saying innovation is more a matter of culture than technology. The fundamental cognitive jump that is important for all of us to undertake is that while many people think about innovation as a simple linear process, idea generation, implementation, exploitation, if you think as a head of a company or country or a region or an organization, you have to think about your organization in the context of its environment, in the context of the market. Why are you in that market? Why, what you should be doing, who should be doing it, where you should do it, to whom you're doing it, when you should do it, and how you should do it. You need the resources, you need to organize them, you need to have a culture, you need to have the processes. Even if you are not a technology company, use technology in order to develop your ideas, to sell your ideas and to market your ideas. You have your own solution portfolio to the market. And of course, you need to create the business value, the end results that matter, okay? So basically, effective organization innovation management requires, number one, that you know yourself and your organization. Number two, that you know your context and your competition. Number three, that you determine the right things to do. And number four, to do them right. And finally, at all times, learn, improve, and continue. It's mostly common sense. Unfortunately, common sense is not that common in many instances. Talking about methodology, innovation without methodology is just luck, okay? And I don't mean methodology, this chain of torture, if you have an idea going up the ladder in your organization to get approval for the idea. Proper innovation methodology, and I created a methodology based on 7+1 stages. Number one, why do you want to innovate? Learn, agree, and set up an innovation management system. Number two, determine who you are, who the organization is, your vision, your leadership, your goals, what works, what does not work inside the organization. Number 3, determine where you are in the market, in your context. Who are your competitors? Who are your customers? What are your business models? What are your imperatives? Number 3, which of the many things that you could innovate on can you afford to do? We have to select them, we have to fund them, we have to resource them with the proper people and tools. Number 4 is, how are you going to do it? You have to plan and organize a portfolio of innovation with the proper metrics for each project and for the portfolio as a whole. And then you go and do it. You implement your projects and you manage them and you measure them. And from time to time, and as often as possible, ask yourself the question, what are my results? You evaluate your portfolio and each project, you adjust the projects, you fail some, you boost some, you learn, you improve, and you continue. And at all times, ask yourself the question, who are we? You need to nurture the culture of innovation in the organization and move forward. So the first 3 steps are basically deciding what are the right things to do. The next 3 steps are doing them the right way. So, innovation management, is it an art? Is it an engineering? I'm stating that it is an engineering science, not just an art. And for the past 40, 50 years, International Standards Organization has created the standards, families of standards on management, starting with project management in the 50s and 60s, quality management in the 70s and 80s, innovation management nowadays, and probably you'll see sustainability management and many other aspects of management. Now, can innovation be standardized? No, absolutely not. But, however, the process of managing innovation can be standardized because it's based on empirically proven principles, call them laws, better tools and methods, and all of them lead to replicable results. And remember this, a country, an organization can close its innovation gap to boost its global competitiveness and well-being by adoption of ISO 56000 innovation management standards across all industry and public sectors. So let me talk about these standards. There is a technical committee called TC279 on innovation management. The membership are 47 countries, 47 national standards organizations that have a right to vote. They include Egypt, although I'm sorry to say I haven't seen many Egyptians at our meetings. About 19 countries who are observing, and 12 liaison organizations, including OECD, WTO, WIPO, UNESCO, UNIDO, the World Bank, and so on. The structure, the Secretariat is provided by the French National Standards Organization. We have a working group 1, which is dedicated to standards on innovation management system, a working group 2, which is dedicated to terminology, a working group 3, which is dedicated to tools and methods for innovation management, and there was a working group 4 on assessment, plus specific task forces on certain items. It started in 2013 in Paris. We meet about twice a year for a week, once in spring, once in autumn. There is one plenary every year. Unfortunately, for the past 2 years, including this year, we had to go to virtual meetings rather than face-to-face meetings, and that has made life more difficult. You know about United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and innovation actually addresses all 17 SDGs. Very important, we are making sure that our innovation management standard align with all the existing standards, the quality management, the project management, portfolio management, etc., business continuity, resilience, innovation, security, and information security, and such. And very important, our standards address both business and social and environmental innovation. So we do not use the word market, we use the word context, because that is more generic than just the market for business cases. So the innovation management principles that we have developed over the past 8 years are as follows. Number 1, realization of value. What's important is that you achieve the value for your organization and the customers of the organization. You need future-focused leaders that have the vision of the future. You need to have a strategic direction. You need to have the culture of innovation, as I mentioned before. You need to exploit insights and your knowledge to move forward. You need to manage uncertainty because innovation is operating in an uncertain realm. You need to be adaptable to the changes that happen in your context, and you have to have a system approach in order to achieve your objectives without too much wastage. The fundamental standard today is ISO 56002 Innovation Management System Guidance. It has, like all standards, a clause on introduction, a clause on scope, a clause on terms and definition and normative references. And then it comes with the meat of the standard, the context of the organization. It's both the internal context and the external context. Remember, knowing who you are, knowing where you are and how you are impacted. And you look at the expected needs of the interested parties, which is more than just a stakeholder. Afterwards comes clause 5, which is about leadership, because as you know, there is an old universal proverb that says that a fish rots from the head down, and leadership is absolutely significant to achieve the vision, the results, the policies, the culture, and everything else. Clause 6 is about planning, the objective, the strategy, and the planning of innovation activities. Clause 7 is about the support for innovation management, the resources, the competencies, the awareness, the measurements, the communications, the intellectual property management and such. Clause 8 is about operation, which starts with the intent to achieve certain value. You identify opportunities and manage risks. You create innovation concepts. You validate the innovation concepts. You develop innovation solutions. You deploy innovation solutions in order to get value. Of course, you need to assess your management system, and you need to improve it from time to time. In terms of historical relationship mark standards, in 2019, we published the ISO 56002. Afterwards, we started providing tools and methods standards, starting with ISO 56003 on innovation partnership management. And then came the development of the ISO 56000, which is the vocabulary, the terms that we are using. Working Group 4 attempted to develop an innovation management assessment standard, but it ended up being a technical report telling people how to think about innovation management assessment, not assessment of the system, but of the management as a whole. 56005 is the standard on intellectual property management in the context of innovation. It's a very, very important standard. We are still in development of the ISO 56007, which is about idea management. And also the standard that I proposed, and I'm leading the world team to develop it, ISO 56008 on innovation operation measurements. Last year, we started working and will deliver shortly the ISO 56010 illustrative examples of innovation management. And we recreated the Working Group 1 to look at the innovation management system compliance standard. It's a requirement standard by which companies and organizations all over the world are going to be certified to meet certain standards of managing their innovations. I'm going to say a few words about each of those standards. Tools and methods for innovation partnership, ISO 56003. It's how you enter into a partnership, how you select your partners, how you align your work with the partners, how you interact with the partners, and how you review the partnership to decide to continue or to get out of the partnership. Tools and methods for strategic intelligence is looking how you frame your criteria and scope for generating intelligence, how you gather and analyze the data to provide information, how you interpret that information in order to get to the knowledge about your strategic situation in your context, and on that basis, how you recommend to the leadership the actions that need to be taken to move forward with your innovation activities. Tools and methods for intellectual property management, ISO 56005. I should remind you now that as the world is progressing, there is a significant change from hard valuable assets, hardware, hard product and such, to data. Data has become the most important valuable assets for the Standard & Poor 500 market value. Look at this, from 17% in 1975 to about 90+% in 2019. So intellectual property is absolutely significant. The 56006 management framework looks first of all at IP strategy, creating an intellectual property strategy, landscaping the intellectual property, providing an innovation roadmap, looking at how to create and acquire intellectual property and protect your innovation outcomes, enhancing your competitive advantages by creating an IP portfolio, then commercializing that IP portfolio to enable value realization. And you commercialize the IP portfolio either by selling the products and services that you have, or by licensing your technologies that you have. And of course, looking at IP risk management to reduce liability and uncertainty in the market. The Innovation Management Assessment, 56004 technical report, looks at how to prepare an innovation management assessment, how to execute the innovation management assessment, and provides lots of data and information, and how to capture and the conclusions, because you need those conclusions in order to improve your innovation management and implement the roadmap actions, also to improve the future innovation management assessment activities. ISO 56007 guidance on idea management. It's a continuous process of preparing the organization, understanding the context of the organizations, identifying the opportunities and balancing them vis-a-vis the risks involved, handling the uncertainties, as I mentioned, creating the innovation concepts, validating them and selecting the right ones to pursue into development and deployment. At the same time, nurturing a culture of innovation, nourishing competencies, assessing and improving this process. I have a chart here to describe the two funnels that are very critical here. There is the funnel of idea management, starting with system organization, the executive context, the idea collection, the analysis, synthesis of ideas, the validation and productization of those ideas, going to a go, no-go decision, basically a business plan's defense, but going to development or not. That represents the funnel of ideas to a go, no-go decision. Ideas, projects become fewer and fewer, but more important. And then you go into the funnel to the market, where you execute and really get the value of your projects by starting with the minimum value solutions to the market, launching and learning from the market reaction, scaling and upgrading to the market. Finally, before I talk about innovation measurements, let me share with you some data from a big study I did in Canada, where we sent a survey to about 35,000 top executives in the country, all industries, all size of companies, all geography of Canada, which is the second largest country in the world. And I asked them about how many innovation metrics do you have at the corporate level? And about 40% of executives, 70% of them were CEOs, said, none, we have no innovation metric at the corporate level. 6% said about one, and then it went down from there. And at the same time, I asked them about their financial performance on 3 measures of performance. And it was a very simple question, because I could not ask them specific data. Ask them, did you do much better than expected? You did better, you did neutral, you did worse, you did much worse. And you know that executives have rosy glasses, and I expected them to tell me that they did better than otherwise, but still some of them were honest. And here are the results. Companies that did not have any innovation metric did about 14% below the average of the entire group. Companies that had only one metric did actually much worse, probably because the metric was misleading. Companies that had 2 to 3 metrics did better than the average. The best was having 6 to 10 innovation metrics at the corporate level. Those companies did about almost 40% better than the average. Or this is a compound annual growth rate in revenues. This one is profitability. The difference is about 50%, at least 50% here. And ask yourself, what could be gained in terms of industry well-being by raising the number of firms, companies that use 6 to 10 metrics rather than not use any metric at all. So this is why I insisted, I proposed, and I'm leading now the world team to develop a tool and method for innovation operation measurement, a guidance tool. Remember that not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. So anytime you do something, you need to make sure that you are well prepared. You need to make sure that you are progressing well in your activity, and you make sure that the results are what you expect or better than you expected, or not. If not, you should fail. So you talk about indicators, input indicators, input progress indicators and metrics, and outcome indicators and metrics. The metrics can be qualitative because innovation is a complex human process that you cannot establish in numbers all the time, or they can be quantitative metrics. And don't forget, metrics drive behavior. We are all doing what we are being measured and such. And what gets measured is what gets done, and what gets done is what gets rewarded. So we created a framework for innovation measurements that starts with the context, the innovation leadership and strategy, the innovation enablers, the planning, the resources, the organization, the tools, the innovation initiatives, and the value outcomes. From an executive point of view, where you do not want to be swamped by too much data, leadership should have at least 3 metrics of innovation at the organization level. Are we relevant? Are we enabling properly our innovation activities? Are we achieving the value that we need? And with that, I'm going to finish. I'm sorry for taking so much time, but I'd like to tell you about the facets of a proper innovation system. There is a management aspect there with the leadership, with ambition, skills, and processes to achieve effectively their objectives. The social system, which includes the skilled people with competencies and culture that aim for common goals. The technical system, and we are very much involved in that technology system. The tools, the infrastructure, that is platforms used for building and deploying innovation solutions, and the context system, everything around it. And here the intersection of all these aspects is an effective innovation system. Basically, the benefits of ISO 56000 innovation management science standards is that it increases economic and social value. Using this standard to enhance your competitiveness or the relevance of your organization. You achieve a better management of uncertainties. You lower cost and waste thanks to increased resource efficiency. You sustain your renewal of portfolio of solutions. You improve your resilience to disasters and such. You get higher customer and stakeholder satisfaction. You get your people better motivated and engaged. You get better ability to attract investments and partners. You get a higher reputation, and you get better compliance with regulation. And that's my story. And please, if you have any questions, or if you can't have questions right now, don't hesitate to contact me. You have the presentation. You can call me, email me, SMS me, WhatsApp me, whatever, and I'll be very, very glad to answer your questions and get you involved in better innovation management. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Surin, for your very informative presentation. Actually, I've been checking all the chat boxes. We still don't have any questions for you. Your presentation was very interesting, entitled ISO 56000 Innovation Management Science Standards, World's Best Practices for the 21st Century. Thank you very much for being our first keynote speaker for the plenary session, Professor Sureen Khan, CEO, Competitive Innovation Management and Entrepreneurship Leader, joining us from Canada very early in the morning. Thank you very much for being our first keynote speaker for the second NRC ICSSD 2021. Thank you very much. Let us welcome Professor Zubair Anwar, Senior Management Professional Engineering, joining us from USA with his presentation entitled The Case for Transformation to Industry 4.0, A Bigger Picture. If you may share your screen, we can see it very clearly. Professor Zubair, thank you very much for sharing the screen. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. It is a unique opportunity to speak to the conference attendees, including a lot of scientists and engineers from all over the world. My name is Zubair Anwar, and today I'm going to talk about a little bit big picture about Industrial Revolution 4.0. I have seen that many scientists and engineers belonging to engineering disciplines, life sciences, healthcare, construction, agriculture, and a lot of other disciplines are participating into this conference. So this is the right place and right opportunity for me to speak to you people about the bigger picture that is developing around the globe in the context of Industrial Revolution 4.0. In today's discussion, I have a couple of slides that reflect my work into Industry 4.0. You can see my brief profile, and I'm sure that is also available on the conference website. So you could have a detailed overlook into my profile over there. These are brief list of my research and publications. Today, I would like to talk about 4 aspects regarding Industry 4.0. Let us recall and refresh our memories how industrial revolutions have been happening in the past over a couple of 200 years. And with the advent of Industry 4.0, what is being impacted? I would like to share with you a global roundup, and we'll see how different nations are positioning themselves about this industrial revolution. And lastly, we would talk about the available opportunities and challenges which we have in this new paradigm. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you are aware, that couple of centuries ago, the Industrial Revolution started from the United Kingdom. Now, this is very imperative to talk about the previous Industrial Revolution because we have enough lessons from the past. If you are aware that Industrial Revolution in the United Kingdom, it brought up many opportunities and many challenges as well. It started with the invention of steam power motors and locomotives, and very soon during this age of mechanization, everything started shifting on steam. And we had the start of the basic shape of modern industry in those times. So an education system was put in place, work got standardized, unions started forming about the rights of the labor, kids from the suburban and village areas were sent to the schools, urbanization started because most of the industries were located in the cities. And a lot of scientific discoveries were made during that time. But that era is also known for a lot of healthcare challenges as well. And we actually confronted a lot of environmental issues just like we are facing again today. Also, the mainstream banking was started at that time. If we move forward and we talk about the technological revolution, that is the second industrial revolution, it started with the invention of internal combustion engine. And most of the infrastructure that is available for transportation over the land or by roads or by railroads was actually laid during this time. So let's name the inventions like telephone and generator and the naive forms of airplane, a lot of medical discoveries like theory of germs, antiseptics were actually all those done in that time. Eiffel Tower, if you could recall, was built in 1889, and we also got rubber industry. So when rubber came into existence and it was put for the industrial use, we saw vehicles moving on the roads. And steel industry is one of them that actually gained momentum during that time. And let's not forget Titanic. That was one of the state-of-the-art ship built during that time. We also saw submarines and undersea cables and telegraphics and silent movies during those times. If we move ahead a little bit, starting 1940, we had a breakthrough invention in the form of semiconductors. So after the transistor invention, we started having analog computer systems. Military usage of technology was at the height. Space race started, and you're all aware of Apollo missions that the United States initiated during 1950s. Quality revolution started. We slowly and gradually moved towards computing technologies in the form of automation. So digitization, networking, resource sharing, World Wide Web, Internet, and Web 1 and Web 2 are surely the main milestones that were achieved during the third industrial revolution. But all over this time, what has fundamentally changed? So if we see, for example, how much time it took for different products and services to get 50 million users. For instance, telephone industry took 75 years to reach to get 50 million users. Television took 13 years, internet 4 years, Twitter 9 months, and Pokemon Go just 19 days. If we look at the demographics, in 1700, there were 650 million humans living on the face of Earth. 100 years after, they became 1 billion. 2019, they were 7.6 billion. And as an approximation, by the end of this century, we will have 11 billion people. And what does that mean? That means life expectancy has increased, mortality rate has improved. In 1700, the life expectancy was about 35 years on average, and which reached to 71.5 years by the year 2000. So if we carefully look what is happening over the globe in the last 10 years, we see that technology breakthroughs has happened, and which are fundamentally and radically changing the socio-economic composition of our culture. It is promoting globalization and industrialization. And all the technologies which have been conceived under this new actually mindset, which is called Industry 4.0, they started from Germany in 2006 up to 2010. And it was actually a breakthrough of combining digital and physical worlds by inventing something that is called cyber physical system, and which has the unique capability of computing, communicating, and controlling. And through these cutthroat technologies, we have been able to see self-driving vehicles. The automation age has started from the automation age. We can see now machine-to-machine communication. We have smartphones, we have Internet of Things, augmented virtual reality. We see robotics working on the processing industry, aviation industry, and a lot of other places. And let's not forget that robotic process automation is taking over by storm all the service industries. Look at the nanotechnologies. They are now making breakthrough inventions and approaches in healthcare and other fields of life. See how now organs are being prepared in the lab. You have heard about grown meat in the lab. You have heard about the organs being printed. And it is no other than stem cell technology. If you look at the geological sciences, you talk about the construction industry, we see unmanned aerial vehicles, which we commonly call drones. Now, the 5G mobile technology is yet another promise. And the predictive analytics is another actually breakthrough that is helping us in building new models, which would be very close in terms of precision and accuracy. And this predictive analytics is a sufficient advancement from what we used to call productive analytics, and we used to have predictive maintenance. Cybersecurity is another challenge and another front of doing wonders. Look at the blockchain. We every day now hear the success stories of Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies. This all would not have been possible if there were not enough actually advancements in the area of big data, additive manufacturing, or what we call 3D printing. Artificial intelligence and cloud computing are major breakthrough. And all the multinationals have actually put their weight into these technologies. We see very sharp and very high investment into these areas. Now let us talk about what is actually being impacted by the technology that I have just mentioned over my last slide. So starting from the governance, and by governance, I mean the governance of the governments. They have no new processes. For example, government to citizen, citizen to government, business to government, government to business. If you look at the corporate governance, we have again new models coming up. Look at the transportation. Look at the Hyperloop trains. Look at the bullet trains. Just few days before, the highest speeding train has been tested in China recently. Look at farming and agriculture. Now we are actually reaching new levels of productivity, and we have a lot of promissory commitments in terms of farming for breeding and increasing the production of the farm animals. Aviation industry has also taken sufficient advantage of the breakthroughs that have been made under the technology in Industry 4.0. So you see, for example, F-35, just look at it, the new breakthroughs, aircraft that can actually take off vertically. That is a real wonder of today. Look at banking. Just recently, Singapore has issued license of 100% digital banks. Look at the finance. We have now new ways of financing. So crowdsourcing, you just look at it, the alternate ways of raising finance are very much in action. You see the trading of Bitcoin and other digital currencies, you see blockchain console working in action. And it is not only the hyper or digital ledger that is taking advantage of these new forms of currencies and blockchain. If you look at the ways that databases are being handled, look at the new models of accounting, look at the new models of peer-to-peer transactions, which actually are a way advancement in terms of security, having new trust entities around the globe. Defense is no exception, and we have new warfare based upon the technologies that we come to see on social media almost every day. If you look at the consequences of pandemic, the whole world came into a halt, and humanity suffered a big loss because of the COVID, the recent pandemic. But the education and the basic industries, we were lucky to have them continuing during all this time. And thanks to digital ways of education, which are now in place. If we look at the construction industry, historically, it has always been facing the challenges of productivity, safety, and quality. But with the new technological advancements in place, we could not have done better in construction industry. And as we are speaking, multiple and lot of commercial products are available today in the United States and in the Europe, which sufficiently help us in improving, for example, the building information models, doing scanning, doing safety, using drones, high resolution cameras, geological surveys, so on and so forth. The quality profession has obviously benefited the most from all these breakthrough technologies. And now we are actually harvesting the results of all these technologies. So a lot of things from manual processes are being pushed into machines, which would be actually a substantial benefit in terms of service levels, in terms of quality levels. So the promises and the commitments of the organizations with the customers, with the suppliers in the upstream and in the downstream would be actually very close to perfection levels. You look at the digital supply chains, just look at the way Amazon is working, look at the way Alibaba is working. So from the retailer up to the distribution, up to the freight forwarders, up to the suppliers and manufacturers, they are all integrated. And they are now actually building up new business models, and they are now sharing the margins within the digital supply chains. And that actually creates more ways of generating revenues by the new digital business models of being integrated into these supply chains. And that is how fundamentally retail has changed. And this COVID, it actually brought some opportunities. So as we say that every cloud has a silver lining, so this pandemic brought opportunities. And we had high trends in high online shopping and digital purchases. And the digital mode of transactions of money gained popularity. If you look at the healthcare, it is again taking advantage, for example, of augmented virtual realities. So the students are better off in understanding the anatomy of the body, doing pathological experiments, doing simulations. And this has also been applied in pharma industry, in the energy sector, in the town planning. We have now new terms available with us, smart cities and metrics, which again associate and link to the sustainable development goal of the United Nations, that now nations are under obligation to meet and achieve. Now, please give me a few minutes. I will walk you through the actual changes that happened actually in all these industries because of the technologies under Industry 4.0. So what happened actually? The traditional business models, the traditional work methods are no more producing the results that we have been able to produce with modern technologies. So what happened? That technology life cycles have changes. They are now being shrinking. And because of so many innovations and disruptions happening all around, now organizations also, they are facing challenges. So for example, what business model should they adopt? What strategies they should adopt? How often do they need to revise their business models? How often do they need to adjust their strategies? How they are supposed to develop their technology systems, organizational systems? How robust and how resilient it would be against that technological changes, industry shifts, market trends, how it is going to make them foolproof and risk-proof against all those changes. And that is why the associated governance models and the operational models have also taken huge turns, and they have undergone major changes. Because with the Industry 4.0, it is not the supplier, it is not the manufacturer who is driving the technology, who is deciding which technology would remain, which technology would wipe out. So who is deciding that? The answer is customer is deciding that, because that customer today is much aware and much educated than ever before, because all the channels to access the information about a product, about a supplier, to the competition, about the functional requirements, about the pricing is all available to the customer with given mobile handsets. So information is literally on hand for them. And there are a lot of applications which help the customers to find out which supplier would be best, which manufacturer would be best. Many analytics are already available to them to just run the searches to find out which would be best fit for them. And what does that mean? That poses challenges to the organizations, being a supplier, being a manufacturer, being a retailer, or in the distribution. We, as organizational entities, we have to now focus because the competence requirements have changed. So the way marketing profession used to work, the way technology department used to work, the way strategic planning used to work, the way HR used to work, all have fundamentally changed. And that means we have a very conspicuous impact on the job descriptions. They have been revised. The job analysis now pushes the organizations to scout and select those candidates which are now technology conversant. Knowing the technology is not a privilege anymore because it has now become a basic and common knowledge. So how organizations are going to differentiate against their competition is a question of $1 million. And it has not only impacted this part. The corporate social responsibility has also been impacted. So now we have new terms coming up. We have now corporate digital and data responsibilities. And if you look at general data privacy regulations that European Union actually promulgated, and US is also going to promulgate new laws about handling of data. So that would actually compel the organization and the individual professionals dealing with the data of customers, suppliers, intermediaries. Otherwise, they are going to face very serious repercussions in terms of legal fronts as well as in terms of code of conduct. So if we sum up all this discussion, we come to know that now there are 4 dimensions to Industry 4.0. Number 1 is related to the people. The second one is related to the processes. The third one is technology part, and the fourth one is data. So if we actually look at the composite picture involving all these 4, what is special about people? If they are in the organization, they need to upskill themselves. They need to equip them with the new technological innovations, new technological knowledge, new competence, new skills, which are now abruptly changing, and that poses more challenges on the human resource part. And what does that mean? They need to upskill themselves every now and then. So no skill, no competence is going to stay for a very long time as it used to in the previous decades or 20, 30 years before time. Look at the processes. Now, the automation and automation is the new language for processes, and that means they are free of human intervention, particularly with the given attributes of machines which can now learn and improve themselves. Now, for example, we have twin models. We have a physical machine working and a cyber machine working in the computer. And physical machines is transmitting all the data to the cyber machines, which is actually helping the machine to improve its design. So all the data which is transmitted from the field to the factory to the lab is continuously helping to improve the design and the performance and the operating characteristics. And what does that mean? Prototyping and pilot testing may not stay for more time as we are talking of today. So how would be human positioning themselves to take a new job would be another challenge, because technology is now making its place. People are now talking of 100% automation and automation. And when we say automation, that means machine do the artificial intelligence part additionally, and they take decisions. So we today, as we are speaking, we have 100% automated facilities in America and in Europe. What is very important is data. So data science is now pivotal during in whole this discussion. So what are the opportunities and challenges in this industry 4.0 for the organizations, for the researchers, for the engineers, for the technologists? Now remember that we have to start from a bigger picture. If you are working in the lab, if you are working as a standalone organization, that may not be sufficient. That would require reconsideration. And why I'm saying that, we look at the innovation economies. So let's say United States, let's talk about Germany, the United Kingdom. Let's talk about Japan. What is happening over there? They have come up with their technology policies. So that is actually being managed on a very high scale on a macroeconomic level. And if you look at the emerging economies, say United Arab Emirates, say China, say some other Middle Eastern countries, and some countries in the Far East like Malaysia, they are now collaborating with the innovation economies, with those nations, for example, getting outsourcing for electronics from Japan. America outsourcing some of the industries into India and into the Latin America. So they are trying to enable themselves by actually becoming part of this wave. And that actually gives us a vision about having two types of approaches in getting into the ride of Industry 4.0. One is top down and other is bottom up. So for instance, France, Italy, and Germany, they are working together. And actually, Germany is taking lead from all the nations, and they were actually the pioneering nation of coining this new term, Industry 4.0. Now, they are joining hands to harvest the result, to bear the fruit. And if you look at, for example, Portugal, they are actually doing it bottom up. If you look at the Netherlands, they are also following the suit. But how to maximize the opportunity value and how to overcome the barriers that all the nations are facing if they are innovation economy, they actually are trying to overcome, setting up an example for other nations to follow. So let's talk a bit about enabling the technological 4.0 impacts and how to actually take it to the benefits of sectors, industries, organizations, and academia. So the first thing that requires focus is formulating technology policy and strategies on the national level. Now we have international consortium who are actually trying to push that technology part, and they are striving to actually bring in place some international standard, because historically the technologies in the Industry 4.0 are not so integrated as we are speaking. So now efforts are in place in order to standardize the technology. But again, as a nation, do you have a technology policy in place? Are you working on formulating some strategies on how to, for example, acquire the technology, or how to develop the technology, how it would be taken to the corporate sector, how public sector would take advantage? And we have to have, in addition to this technology policy, we have to have associated policies. For example, economic policy, for example, finance policy, trade policy, labor policy. They are actually going to work in harmony for the nations to get into the technology policy to harvest the result. Another very important front is the legislation part, standards and regulation. As I mentioned, that European Union, they promulgated GDPR. America is in process, but what about other regions? Do we have enough regulations to regulate these technologies? For example, for cyber crimes, for example, cyber security, black hackers. These are the challenges of today. If you look, for example, at the antivirus organizations, now they are today providing you the ransomware that would protect the individual machines as well as the organizations for malicious attempts. The technology transfer and digital transformation is another very important area. So how, if you are technology advanced country or you are not technology advanced country, how you are going to have those transfer of technologies and the digital transformation journey easy for you? How are you going to prepare your industry and organizations to adopt to the readiness state for digital transformations? And if I could sum up, there are 5 main barriers which have been listed by some international forums, including World Economic Forum, which actually have been identified as barriers to this digital transformation. And number 1 is shortage of digital skills. The high pace that technologies are making their way into the industries is not matching the upskilling of professionals for developing digital skills. So this would be a bottleneck if you are actually going to have new technologies, automation and automation in your part of organization. The second thing is status quo. And you know that that is a human part and that has to be managed very carefully and diligently. So there would be an organizational resistance to adopt the new technologies. And what about having those technology officers and data officers who are actually working on the technology policy and strategy and data policy and strategy in your organizations? How long they thought your technology systems would be staying there? How often they have to be replaced? So it is now time to look at that and review all those policies. So yes, if you invested in an obsolete technology, it would become a liability. So you really need to be very wise when you plan the new technologies, how long they are going to stay. So what is the rate of evolution of the new technology versus what is the rate of diffusion of the old technology, and how you are going to maintain an equilibrium and a balance point to replace the old infrastructure and the old technologies into new one, and how you are treating silos and fragmented data. And obviously the cybersecurity has very high concerns, and we see the scams and things happening all around us. In the end, I would like to make conclusion on a very interesting saying from a notable American professor, Alvin Toffler. And this is very actually interesting to share that in 1970, 30 years before the 21st century, he said this. And he said the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who can't read and write, but those who can't learn, unlearn, and relearn. So yes, this is the time to get to know what is going on the technological front, how organizations are changing, how much time you would be having with the new technologies in place, and after how much time you have to replace them. And that means continuous upskilling, continuous capacity, capability, development of the organization. I would like to conclude my talk with thanks to the organizer of this National Research Center, who invited me to this significant event of Middle East on the very first day after the inauguration. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm available online. Over to the organizers, please.
Thank you very much, Professor Zubair Anwar, Senior Management Professional Engineering, joined us from USA for your very informative session entitled The Case for Transformation to Industry 4.0, A Bigger Picture. Thank you very much for being our keynote speaker for the second NRC International Conference on Science and Sustainable Development 2021. Thank you very much. I've been checking the chat boxes. No questions have been received till now. Thank you very much for sharing your presentation, and thank you for your time and joining our conference.
It has been an honor. Thank you very much.
The pleasure is ours. Regarding Dr. Muhammad Ramadan, Director of Egyptian Science, Technology and Innovation Observatories from the Academy of Science and Scientific Research and Technology from Egypt. He apologized on the last minute circumstances, which has an emergency, so he will not be joining us. We will now be sharing our second tour. Please stay tuned because we have many surprises for you today.
احنا بنشيل مظاهر التلف الموجوده على الاعمده، اللون هيظهر، والزائر اللي بيجي يتفرج بيشوف الاصل في الجمال.
فحاليا احنا بنعمل عمليه تنظيف ميكانيكي باستخدام الفرر او الازميل او الاستكه لازاله الاعشاش الطينيه الملتصقه بالاعمده.
بعد كده بنبدا بواقي اللون زي كده اللي بتبقى موجوده بعد استخدام الفرش، بنبدا نديها كماده، نحط عليها ميه وكحول بنسبه 1:1، بنسيبها شويه بتاع 10 دقائق عشان تطري الفسخات الموجوده، عشان ما نضطرش نعمل احتكاك جامد بالحجر او باللون الموجود لغايه ما بينتهي الشغل في العمود.
ظهرت الالوان بعد ما كانت مغطاه بطبقه الاتربه، الوان جميله مثل اللون الاحمر واللون الاصفر.
الالوان بتاعت اجدادنا القدماء المصريين يعني الوان جميله طالعه معانا على الاعمده وبنقويها بعد كده.
اي قطعه اثريه في معابد الكرنك يعتبر تاريخنا مصر، ولازم كلنا نحافظ عليه. ده لازم يكون فخر لينا. القدماء المصريين عملوا حاجه لمصر، مش لمصر بس، للعالم كله.
فخورين جدا ان اصلا الضوء اتسلط على الترميم، يعني ممكن زمان ما كانش الترميم واضح قوي في الصوره زي دلوقتي، ما شاء الله بقى في دلوقتي كمان ان الميادين بقى فيها اثار، الشوارع بقى فيها برضو اثار. يعني احنا اكتسبنا الخبرات دي من شغلنا مع البعثات الاجنبيه في الاول، بعد كده بدا المرمم المصري يتشعب في اماكن كتيره جدا، وبدا يعتمد على نفسه وخبراته والمواد بتاعتنا ان احنا نرمم بيها في كل مكان، وبقى لنا ما شاء الله اكتشافات عظيمه بتبقى مصريه فقط.
والحمد لله يعني بالتنظيم الميكانيكي والكيميائي وكل طرق الترميم متوصل للوصول للزخارف دي.
اكتشفنا تحتها كتابات، اكتشفنا خراطيش. طبعا الترميم مهم جدا بالنسبه للاصل، بيظهره بيوضح لك وبيعمل اعاده للتوثيق كله تاني. يعني دي كلها ما كانتش ظاهره، انت ما كنتش هتعرف ايه ده اللي من تحت، يعني غير لما تم الترميم وانت كشفت عنه كانك بتكشف على اصل.
Welcome all to the second National Research Center International Conference on Science and Sustainable Development under the theme of Scientific Research, Technology and Innovation for Knowledge Creation, held virtually from the 25th to the 27th of October 2021.
مرحبا بكم في المؤتمر الدولي الثاني للمركز القومي للبحوث عن العلوم والتنمية المستدامة تحت شعار البحث العلمي والتكنولوجيا والابتكار من أجل بناء المعرفة. مؤتمر افتراضي يقام من 25 حتى 27 أكتوبر العام 2021.
Let us together go through a rapid tutorial on how to navigate in the ICSSD conference platform.
إليكم شرح توضيحي للتعرف على كيفية التصفح المنسق الإلكترونية للمؤتمر.
Using the website link www.ICSSD2021.com, you will be taken through the welcome scene of the National Research Center to the Sign In button. Please write down your personal account username and password. You may click the Remember Me checkbox.
للدخول إلى منصة المؤتمر استخدم الرابط www.ICSSD2021.com. ستدخل إلى صفحة الترحيب بالمؤتمر ثم استخدم Sign In وأدخل اسم المستخدم وكلمة الدخول. يمكنك ضغط زر Remember Me لعدم إدخال البيانات مرة أخرى.
You have now reached the main scene for the conference platform. In the middle of the scene, you can see the Auditorium Hall. This is where the live sessions take place. By clicking on the Auditorium button, you will find the agenda customized according to the topic of your interest.
الآن على الصفحة الرئيسية للمنصة الإلكترونية للمؤتمر. في منتصف الصفحة ستجد صالة العرض لإيديتوريوم لمتابعة المحاضرات الحية للمتحدثين. بالضغط على زر إيديتوريوم سيتم عرض الأجندة الخاصة بك وفقا لاختيارك السابق أثناء عملية التسجيل للمؤتمر.
All through the 3 days of our event, the agenda will show you which sessions are going now live, and you may also listen to the past sessions by clicking on the available recordings.
ستعرض الأجندة فعاليات كل يوم من أيام المؤتمر الثلاثة الخاصة بالمحاضرات الحية والمحاضرات سابقة التسجيل خلال الأيام السابقة من المؤتمر، وذلك بالضغط على التسجيلات المتاحة.
On the upper left side of the main conference platform scene, you will find the poster hall.
أعلى يسار الصفحة الرئيسية للمنصة ستجد غرفة عرض البوسترات. بالضغط على بوستر هول ستجد جميع البوسترات الخاصة بالمحور المناسب لك.
By clicking on the poster hall, you may find all the different posters submitted, customized according to your topic of interest. You may then listen to the poster presenter, leave your questions or comments in the chat box, and share your feedback rating from 1 to 5 stars.
يمكنك الآن تصفح البوستر وترك الأسئلة والتعليقات في الشات بوكس، كما يمكنك وضع تقييمك للبوستر من 1 إلى 5 نجوم.
On the upper right side of the main conference platform scene, you will find the exhibition hall. Deal with the exhibition hall just as you did with the poster hall.
على يمين الصفحة الرئيسية للمنصة ستجد غرفة المعرض. بالضغط على Exhibition يمكنك تصفح المعرض كما سبق الشرح في غرفة البوستر.
On the lower right side of the main conference platform scene, you may find the help desk. This is where you will write down your question regarding any issue you may face all through the 3 days of the event, and the conference unit member will answer you.
في أسفل يمين الصفحة ستجد مكتب المساعدة حيث يمكنك تدوين أي مشكلة واجهتك في تصفح المنصة وسيتم الرد عليكم في أسرع وقت.
On the lower left side of the main conference platform scene, you will find the sponsors desk. This is where you may chat with any of the sponsors of your interest, and they will answer you as soon as possible.
وفي أسفل يسار الصفحة ستجد مكتب الرعاة حيث يمكنك محادثة الرعاة، كما يمكنك طرح الأسئلة والتعليقات.
Thank you everyone for choosing to participate in the second ICSSD 2021 and hoping you will enjoy our conference.
شكرا لكم لاهتمامكم بالمؤتمر الدولي الثاني للمركز القومي للبحوث عن العلوم والتنمية المستدامة، ونتمنى أن تستمتعوا معنا بفعاليات المؤتمر.
Welcome all to the second National Research Center International Conference on Science and Sustainable Development under the theme of Scientific Research, Technology and Innovation for Knowledge Creation, held virtually from the 25th to the 27th of October 2021.
مرحبا بكم في المؤتمر الدولي الثاني للمركز القومي للبحوث عن العلوم والتنمية المستدامة تحت شعار البحث العلمي والتكنولوجيا والابتكار من أجل بناء المعرفة، مؤتمر افتراضي يقام من 25 وحتى 27 من أكتوبر لعام 2021.
Let us together go through a rapid tutorial on how to navigate in the ICSSD conference platform.
إليكم شرح توضيحي للتعرف على كيفية تصفح المنصة الإلكترونية للمؤتمر.
Using the website link www.ICSSD2021.com, you will be taken through the welcome scene of the National Research Center to the Sign In button. Please write down your personal account username and password. You may click the Remember Me checkbox.
للدخول إلى منصة المؤتمر استخدم الرابط www.ICSSD2021.com. ستدخل إلى صفحة الترحيب بالمؤتمر ثم استخدم Sign In وأدخل اسم المستخدم وكلمة الدخول. يمكنك ضغط زر Remember Me لعدم إدخال البيانات مرة أخرى.
You have now reached the main scene for the conference platform. In the middle of the scene, you can see the Auditorium Hall. This is where the live sessions take place. By clicking on the Auditorium button, you will find the agenda customized according to the topic of your interest.
أنت الآن على الصفحة الرئيسية للمنصة الإلكترونية للمؤتمر. في منتصف الصفحة ستجد صالة العرض Auditorium لمتابعة المحاضرات الحية للمتحدثين. بالضغط على زر Auditorium سيتم عرض الأجندة الخاصة بك وفقاً لاختيارك السابق أثناء عملية التسجيل للمؤتمر.
All through the 3 days of our event, the agenda will show you which sessions are going now live, and you may also listen to the past sessions by clicking on the available recordings.
ستعرض الأجندة فعاليات كل يوم من أيام المؤتمر الثلاثة الخاصة بالمحاضرات الحية والمحاضرات سابقة التسجيل خلال الأيام السابقة من المؤتمر، وذلك بالضغط على التسجيلات المتاحة.
On the upper left side of the main conference platform scene, you will find the poster hall.
أعلى يسار الصفحة الرئيسية للمنصة ستجد غرفة عرض البوسترات. بالضغط على بوستر هول ستجد جميع البوسترات الخاصة بالمحور المناسب لك.
By clicking on the poster hall, you may find all the different posters submitted, customized according to your topic of interest. You may then listen to the poster presenter, leave your questions or comments in the chat box, and share your feedback rating from 1 to 5 stars.
يمكنك الآن تصفح عرض البوستر وترك الأسئلة والتعليقات في الشات بوكس، كما يمكنك وضع تقييمك للبوستر من 1 إلى 5 نجوم.
On the upper right side of the main conference platform scene, you will find the exhibition hall. Deal with the exhibition hall just as you did with the poster hall.
على يمين الصفحة الرئيسية للمنصة ستجد غرفة المعرض. بالضغط على Exhibition يمكنك تصفح المعرض كما سبق الشرح في غرفة البوسترز.
On the lower right side of the main conference platform scene, you may find the help desk. This is where you will write down your question regarding any issues you may face all through the 3 days of the event, and a conference unit member will answer you.
وفي أسفل يمين الصفحة ستجد مكتب المساعدة، حيث يمكنك تدوين أي مشكلة واجهتك في تصفح المنصة وسيتم الرد عليكم في أسرع وقت.
On the lower left side of the main conference platform scene, you will find the sponsors desk. This is where you may chat with any of the sponsors of your interest, and they will answer you as soon as possible.
وفي أسفل يسار الصفحة ستجد مكتب الرعاة، حيث يمكنك محادثة الرعاة، كما يمكنك ترك الأسئلة والتعليقات.
Thank you everyone for choosing to participate in the second ICSSD2021 and hoping you will enjoy our conference.
شكرا لكم لاهتمامكم بالمؤتمر الدولي الثاني للمركز القومي للبحوث عن العلوم والتنمية المستدامة، ونتمنى أن تستمتعوا معنا بفعاليات المؤتمر.
Thank you very much for attending the opening ceremony of the second National Research Center International Conference on Science and Sustainable Development 2021. We have gone through the first plenary session with Professor Sureen Khan, Professor Zubair Anwar, and then we have shared a tour and a rapid tutorial on how to use the International Conference on Science and Sustainable Development platform. Please join the platform using your username and password by clicking the sign in button on the platform by reaching the website www.ICSSD2021.com. Click on the auditorium as explained on the tutorial previously. You will find your customized agenda according to your topic of interest. Please join the live session in progress. Thank you very much.